Hi Grade 5s, I'm Miss B and this is part 1 of the Metals and Non-Metals PowerPoint. I quickly will run through the keywords with which you should already be familiar. An ore is a type of rock that contains minerals and metals. Examples are iron ores or copper ores. Properties are qualities or characteristics of matter and material. An example is the properties of a desk are it's smooth, it's hard, and it has a flat surface. Malleable means to be able to be beaten or hammered into different shapes. Ductile is to be able to be drawn into wires. Rust is the reddish-brown layer formed when iron combines with air and water. I'm sure you've seen pots or pans that have rusted, or a bicycle, or even some cars. To conduct is to carry heat or electricity. Metals are good conductors of heat or electricity, which means it allows the heat to pass through. An alloy is two or more metals mixed together, or a metal mixed with a non-metal. And when something is plated, it means a metal is coated by another metal. Materials can be classified as metals or non-metals. These two groups of materials have different properties. The properties of a material tell us what it's like. Materials are chosen to make products based on their properties. For example, one of the properties of wood is that it does not conduct heat, which means heat does not pass through, and so a spoon made of wood could be used to stir hot food. On this slide, we'll be looking at the properties of metals. Metals are strong. If a metal is dropped, it may bend, but it will not break. Metals are hard, but a few, like pure gold, are much softer. Metals are shiny. This means that they reflect light. Sometimes you cannot see the shine until you rub or scratch them. Metals can be hammered or beaten into different shapes. We call this malleable. Okay? Metals can be drawn into thin wires. They are ductile. Metals can melt at a high temperature. This means that metals can be heated to high temperatures before they melt or change shape. That is why they are used in cooking pots. The metals will not melt when they heat up on the stove. Metals are good conductors. This means that they allow heat and electricity to pass through easily. On this slide, there are a few examples of metals. Our coins are made of metals such as steel and copper, and they are coated with other metals like bronze or nickel. In the top picture, you can see that there is iron and aluminium, brass, bronze, steel, all examples of metal. Non-metals have different properties from metals, and so they are used for different purposes. The main properties are many non-metals are brittle. This means that they break easily. An example will be glass. However, some non-metals like rubber may only bend. Non-metals are dull. When you scratch them or cut them, they do not shine. Non-metals are poor conductors of heat. We call them insulators. They do not allow heat or electricity to pass through. Last one is that non-metals are not malleable and they are not ductile. Let's take a look at some of the examples of non-metals. We have polymer, plastics, fabric, rubber, wood, glass. Try and think of some other examples. Let's just recap the 6 main properties of metals. They are shiny, strong, hard, malleable, ductile, and they melt at a high temperature. Sometimes metals are not shiny because they are coated with paint. Some metal might have been shiny once, but became dull when they were exposed to air or water. If you clean the metal with certain cleaning materials, it might become shiny again.
Now's your chance to complete your own experiment and investigate ways to make dull metals shiny. You can turn to page 65 in your textbook and look at activity 3, or take a look at the worksheet in your study notes attached to your study roster to see how to perform this experiment. What you will need is 4 small pieces of dull metal. The best metal you can use is a 5-cent coin or a 10-cent coin, but it has to be dull, all right? You will also need 4 different cleaning materials. We've got examples of the cleaning materials written down on the worksheet in your study notes. The first cleaning material you will need is cream cleaner, such as Handy Andy. The second material will be soapy water. You can use hand soap or you can use Sunlight dishwashing soap. The third cleaning material you will need is plain vinegar, not mixed with anything. And the fourth cleaning material will be a mixture of vinegar, flour, and salt. All right, just 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of flour, and enough vinegar so that you mix it into a paste. All right, you will use these 4 cleaning materials, and you will use 1 cleaning material per coin. You will dip your finger, using a cloth of course, you will dip your finger into one of the cleaning materials and you'll scrub that coin and see which cleaning material works the best.